In this video, I'm sharing 7 different ways you can turn your next trip in a Dollar Tree into some creative DIY home decor for your home that you love. I'm always looking for some creative ideas to transform the little wood boxes at Dollar Tree. At least that's what I call these. These are like the nesting boxes. It's the larger one. And these are some snowmen, look at them. The larger snowmen, of course. We're going to be using them for pegs because, in case you haven't guessed, we're going to transform this into a riser, but like a drawer riser with the old rusty crusty drawer handle that I had in my stash from an estate sale. To attach everything, I'm going to be using my Titebond Quick and Thick. Now, a lot of times I'll use hot glue for a quick hold and the wood glue for the long hold, but it's been in my experience that whenever I'm doing legs on anything, them suckers will snap off later, and that kind of ticks me off. So I'm just going to be using my Quick and Thick today, and then I'm going to have to suck it up and allow this to dry for 24 hours. But I tell you what, it was absolutely worth it because look at these wiggles. Look at them. They're not moving. They're not budging, people. They were on there. Now, if this were a thicker drawer, a real drawer, whatever, I would have left these pieces on here. But since it wasn't, I decided to just drill holes so that these parts would fit in and then glue it down. You go about this however you want. Little hack I like to use if I'm not using the painter's tape to find holes is to just take a marker and then press our piece down. And it'll show you exactly where you need to drill. Obviously, take your time and find the right size drill bit and then bring on in the drill. Welcome to drill. Okay, use whatever kind of drill you want. This is what we're using. I'm a Ryobi fan, okay? And I put that bit in here and then just drilled my holes. Be careful so you don't hurt yourself. Then I grabbed my Titebond Quick and Thick, put a nice healthy layer inside the holes and across the top and pressed our drawer pull right on down there. You can leave it like this if you want. I decided to go one extra step, okay, and went and grabbed some little, I've just discovered these people, so I gotta bring it to my audience's attention because I love you. These are little filigree pieces. Amazon filigree. No, they're not in my shop, okay, but I'm telling you, they're called filigree pieces. Type in Amazon. I found them. Okay, I found these for ornaments I'm working on. That's a whole nother, that's Christmas next year. We'll talk about that later. Okay, moving on. Filigree in Amazon. They're flexible. They're real thin. They're, and you can put them on your craft projects and they're ornate and I love them. Okay, clamp them down. They give your projects a little something. Thank me later. And bonus, they're not that expensive and you get a whole bunch. So I was super happy about that. I let these dry for a couple hours, then removed our clamps and came on in with some paints. You can use whatever color you want. I wanted to create an almost dirty looking drawer. I wanted it to look like this thing was like really old. This would look cool on some old reclaimed wood. You know what I'm saying? You take that paint, you do a nice layer, you grab your antique wax, make sure you smush it in all the creases, take some water, spritz all over your piece, and then pull it back and it just makes the most beautiful faux dirt look. Now, if you want to, you will never see me grabbing real dirt and rubbing it on anything. You got the wrong craft channel, okay? I'll show you if my OCD doesn't let me go there, okay? I don't mind getting my hands dirty, but I got limits. You know what I'm saying? I got limits. Just take your time. Be patient with it. There's really no right or wrong way. You could use a baby wipe if you want, but I just use a dry little piece of paper towel and love how this piece turned out. For this large pallet wall hanging shelf, we're going to need to grab 2 of these Dollar Tree hanging home signs and 3 of the smaller Dollar Tree wood pallets. And people, truth be told, if I could have found the blank long wood hanging pieces, I would have bought those joints, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. We grabbed these. Here's my 3 pallets. And now let's start disassembling things to be able to reassemble some things. Taking these things apart really is not it's not the funnest job. I've done enough Dollar Tree DIYs and crafts over the years to know two things. One, a project like this, you're going to need at least 2 pieces so it's kind of sturdy and doesn't make you feel like it's going to fall apart. And 2, I hate covering up the back of these wall plaques, whatever you want to call them. So we're going to glue the fronts together so this way they're blank on both sides, making it 1, sturdy, and 2, if you go to resell it or if you hang it in the house, people aren't going to know that it's a Dollar Tree piece. And I know a lot of people, and I've even done it, I don't know how many times, put the blank brown paper on the back, cover it up, all those things. It is just an extra step I don't want to do. I don't want to cut out the paper. I don't want to glue it down. I don't want to check the sides to see if it starts peeling back. I don't want to do none of it. So this just cuts a whole extra step out for me. Once it was glued, I clamped it down and then let it dry. When I was able to pop those clamps off, I grabbed me a paint color and gave this a coat of paint. Now, if you want, you could absolutely paint the whole thing. But the beauty part about doing this is if you want to leave the back blank, just leave it blank. Since I'm making a shelf out of it, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I know most of you crafters at home would take this opportunity to make double-sided decor so we can switch it around. And I don't really blame you. We're going to need to make sure we allow all of the paint to completely dry before we carry on to the next step, because we're going to be gluing and drilling. It really depends on how you want to situate your shelves on here. I will tell you the best and sturdiest way is going to take a little drill bit, pop a hole in the back of your palettes, and then put a little screw in there. And the way this is built and constructed, you can absolutely do that. For time's sake, I just use my wood glue and my hot glue, and you'll see at the end for the reveal, it's definitely sturdy enough after letting everything dry for 24 hours to put a little pot on there with a heavy little ceramic piece. And you'll actually be surprised at how heavy this piece is when you're holding it. So it's pretty sturdy. If you're happy with your piece, leave it alone. I'm gonna add a little dazzling on here with one of my TDS stencils, and I'm not gonna use the whole thing. I really just want to use the leafy kind of section and pop this green in here. Absolutely feel free to get as creative as you would like with stenciling. I just wanted the smaller sections, and I used a pouncer, offloaded my paint to try to reduce some of that bleed through, and left this alone. I used a jute twine and wrapped it around several times at the top so it looked nice, thick and sturdy and not cheap, just doing it once. And really love how this palette wall hanging decor piece turned out. You're in Dollar Tree, head on over to their crafter square section and grab one of these little wood cubes and one of these acrylic boards. Now, I grabbed more than just one because I have fear of missing out issues, and you know, we crafters need more than just really one of anything. Anyhow, we're gonna need 2 of each to create this tabletop decor set. And people, I'd be lying if I told you it was all sunshine and rainbows, but it's not, okay? Peeling this plastic film off of the top of these things, ooh, it is, I'm sorry. It's not easy, okay? Find a corner and gently peel it off. For this next part, you could absolutely use some of Dollar Tree's tumbling tower blocks, but I had this trim laying around, this little pretty decorative trim that I picked up from Home Depot. They have this section where you can buy small, inexpensive pieces of trim, and I like to stop over there and grab this so I have it in my stash. And for this next part, we're going to need to bring on in the miter shears so we can cut 2 pieces down to size to go right on the top of our cubes. This way we have a brace to be able to put our little acrylic boards inside. Before I glued everything down, I did take a second to sand all the rough edges around. That miter shear didn't give these the cleanest cut, and it looked kind of shabby hanging over the sides of our cube. To attach everything, I'm going to use some of Type-On's Quick and Thick, and I'm going to just kind of smear some right on the top here and line up our two pieces right in the center, and then take our acrylic board and put it right down. I will tell you that it's slightly flimsy even after it dry, and I say that just because if you notice the pieces that it's squeezing together, it's real small. I'm not concerned about it falling apart though, because I know that it's going to hold up, but you might want to use something a little bit thicker. That's why I recommended the tumbling tower blocks, or use a different thicker piece of decorative trim. For the center, I'm going to be using some of my TDS Decoupage tissue paper. I'm going to cut down 2 sections of this gorgeous decorative paper so we can apply it right in the center of our acrylic boards. You can remix this idea to match your home decor with so many different ways. You could use transfers, you can use wall decals, you can use napkins or photos. I really love these vintage pieces, and we're going to need to bring on in the iron so we can just straighten these pieces out. Now for this, I'm going to just turn our iron on low. We don't need it to be overheated. Grab a piece of parchment paper and place it down gently over each of our pieces and just give them a once over, so this way they're nice and flat. You can attach these pieces however you want. I wanted to be able to remove mine, so I'm going to take some of my glue tape and just go around the edges here on each one of the pieces. Then I'm going to flip them over and gently press them down. I will say, if you want to use 2 pieces of this acrylic board and kind of smash something in between, like if you wanted to do tried flowers, that would look really cool as well. I just wanted to use one for this. Take the idea and remix it, whatever works best for you. These Dollar Tree pieces turned out so stunning and elegant. The decoupage paper absolutely looks amazing right in the center. For this Dollar Tree wall lantern, we're going to need one of their chargers and one of their LED hanging lanterns. I always struggle to find one of these, but I was super happy I had this one in my stash. I'm going to paint both of these pieces with my Waverly White chalk paint, and I'm going to apply 2 coats on both of them. When they were dry, I went into my stash and I found a piece of the Dollar Tree wallpaper. They have a bunch of different designs that you could use, but I'm just going to cut a small section out of this one and put right in the middle of this charger. If I would have had more of those LED hanging lamps, I would have made at least 2 of these for the end reveal. But I thought this idea was super high-end looking, and I really liked that you could move this around as you see fit in different little sections to give areas of your home a little something something. Now I'm showing you the drill here because it would be best if you drilled holes with this type of hanger, and these hangers are fairly inexpensive. You can pick them up for like $2 at Home Depot's or Lowe's, and that's what I'm using here. It has the double hooks. I just threw hot glue behind here for staging purposes, but so yours at home holds up really well. Put some holes in that sucker, use some Type-On wood glue, put your little baby screws in there so you don't have to worry about anything falling back off, and put whatever kind of hanger you would like on the back of your piece. For this DIY, we're going to need one of Dollar Tree's beaded wreaths. You can take this idea and remix this into a centerpiece. It would look beautiful over a fireplace mantle or some tabletop decor. we're going to need a base also. Dollar Tree has a bunch of these, but I had this little oval joint laying in my stash and I picked it up from Walmart and I figured, oh, we'll just use this piece. Why not? I removed the tags and then started doing a little bendy on the table here to get the bottom of this wreath kind of flat. And I used the section where they were clamped together as the bottom part. I needed to remove some of those beads, so I took a pair of needle nose pliers and flattened it out so I could do just that. You could leave all the beads if you wanted, but I wanted to have a little bit of gap in the top of mine. Just be careful. Ah! Too many. Those suckers are slippery. When I was happy with the amount of beads I removed, I just took those needle nose pliers and clamped the wires back around each other. And then I continued doing a little bendy to flatten out the bottom here. For the brace to hold the two of these together, I'm going to use a pair of floral foam. But before I got too far ahead of myself, I had to go grab a container to pop all these free beads in because, you know, we don't throw things away. We could use them for something else. Anyhow, I glued the floral foam down to our little brace here, and I didn't use tacky glue or anything in the event. I wanted to rip these things apart and redo another one since I wasn't really spending a whole lot of money here breaking the bank and knew that I could remove whatever florals I was putting in here. I felt like we could remix this at a later date if we wanted to and switch around things. I added a little bit more hot glue onto the part where the beads met the brace. For full transparency, people, I noticed this was swaying just in the floral foam, so I added that hot glue onto the base where the beads touched, so this way there was some more stability. Without that glue on there, it was just swaying in the floral, and I want this to be really stable if I'm going to be putting it around, and you as well at home. I don't want you to put anything together that might possibly fall apart on you. I added my florals in here and a little candle. You could pop an LED in here. I'm just using this for decorative purposes, so I don't plan on lighting it on up. Absolutely put florals in the piece. There's so many different ways you can remix this idea to match your decor at home. One of my favorite things to create that is so inexpensive from Dollar Tree is book decor. And I'm often asked many questions about different things. So we're going to do a super easy DIY book decor piece with just one book. I removed the cover, and first we're going to start off by gluing the book down. Now this might not be everyone's process, and before you come at me in the comments, people, this is how I do it. I've made so many of these and this is just what works for me. And yes, I even resell these pieces. And if you don't have this glue, no worries. I use tacky glue as well. I take a little bit and smush it in between 20 to 30 pages and then press the book down and paint around the outside. I added more tacky glue after I clamped the book down together just to ensure that the ends and the pages were all one unit. When I am sure that this is all glued down, I allow this to dry for at least 3 to 4 hours. And in the event you're like, Brandy, why are you even doing this? I do this because depending on how decorative and artsy fartsy I get on this book, it's going to have a lot of stuff on it, and I don't want anything popping back off, especially if I'm selling it. I want whoever is using this to display things in their home to know that their bits are not going to come flying off of their little decorative art piece. For our base, I'm going to be using some Waverly chalk paint, and I like using chalk paint as my base or a multi-surface for this. For those of you that don't have access to Waverly, I'm sorry about that. Folk art multi-surface is another good option. We're going to get a little decorative with our spine. There's a ton of different ways you can create your spines. I'm going to just use some of my favorite creative paper clay and pop in this mold. Now, paper clay I do have down in my Amazon affiliate link for anyone interested. It's one of my favorite clays. and that's just a preference. Use whatever clay you would like. Do not feel like you have to use the things I'm using here. This is just what works best for me. I've been doing this for many years, and the things that I like. A little tip, use some cornstarch if you notice that your clay is sticking. It will help prevent that. I'm taking a little bit of Type On Quick and Thick. If you don't have this stuff, tacky glue works well, okay? And so does regular wood glue, but I highly recommend those two. Do not put hot glue on here. I do not think that that turns out well, especially if you're going to be selling something like this to someone. That hot glue will probably pop right off at some point. This is just going to help ensure that your art stays together longer. I let this dry a complete 24 hours, and how I usually check is to take my fingernail and just tappity tap 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 on that sucker to see if it leaves any indents. And if it doesn't, then I know we're good to carry on. I then took the white paint and did a whole nother coat over top of our book. When it was dry, I then grabbed a couple different colors to pop some accent colors onto our clay piece we have here. You could do this a solid color, leave it alone. Again, completely up to you. I'm blending some different colors just to create some pops, so the overall finish will have different variations in the design. The colors I went with match this beautiful decorative A4 in size TDS Rice Paper that we're going to be applying on here. If you're not familiar with me, I am the owner and artist behind TDS Creative, which is my own brand. We're also going to be using TDS artist brushes. These are perfect for decoupage. With the release of this video, neither of these items are available just yet. They will be available with the new 2025 release coming the end of January. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested. Otherwise, people use whatever you want. I don't invite you on this channel to only use the things that I am using. I invite you here to get some entertainment, some tips, inspired, and create amazing things that you love. I wanted to just have this paper in certain sections of the book, so I'm using a little bit of water on a paintbrush to trim down just those spots. You can absolutely use scissors or however you would like to. I needed 2 pieces of this rice paper as well because I wanted to use different sections of the rice paper to go around the book. You could absolutely wrap your entire book if you would like to. It's completely up to you. This is just the way I chose to create mine. For the medium, I'm using some Mod Podge and my fingers to press this down. To smooth the piece out a little bit more, I grabbed a nice wad of cling wrap and just kind of smeared down everything, made sure all the excess Mod Podge was out. I wasn't going for like perfect no wrinkles, but I wanted to make sure everything was attached. Once I got to the edge of the book, we needed to get in those little tight spaces, smush some Mod Podge, and finish attaching. And that's one thing I've shared over the years that I absolutely love fan brushes for. Been using them for years. It's my favorite thing to use to decoupage, but you see how this splitting here? That can be a problem. But one thing I knew when I was looking to launch my own TDS Creative decoupage brushes is that I had to find something that I wasn't going to want to toss out. And adding a little bit of Mod Podge back to these, even after they've split, even after you've washed these and you see the split there, you add paint, you add Mod Podge, and as you can see, they have fluffed right back out, making creating easy and not frustrating with a fan brush all over again. To tie in everything once the decoupage was dry, I added a little bit of dry brushing around all the edges of the decoupage, around the edges of our piece that we painted with the same base color. Then I took some of my homemade texture paste and I will pop up the ingredients to that right in the corner, and I mixed that with love, people. There's no measurements, okay? Mix it with love. I added some green paints and then picked out a stencil to pop a pretty little 3D effect right on the top of our book. Once everything was dry, I grabbed my Dixie Belle Gold gilding wax and colored in the spine. I left little pops around our piece that we put here so you could see those pretty colors coming out and blending in with the decoupage portion. And then I dry brushed some of that around the stencil as well around the edge of the book. You could completely skip this part and paint it if you want. Use a metallic paint. You don't have to use this gilding wax to get a very similar look, so please don't feel like you need to. I did decide to take some antique Waverly wax and brush around the pages and add a little bit of that antiquing wax around the book as well to give it a little bit of a vintage feel, and love how this single decorative art piece turned out. What do you guys think about this book? This tabletop decor piece, we're gonna need 2 of Dollar Tree's canvases. Now I'm going to use the square one for our main section and then one of these little burlap joints. You could absolutely use whatever you would like. Take this idea and remix it with what works for your home decor. Just keep in mind that these square joints, they're MDF, they're not wood, okay? I wanted the size of it because size matters for this project, people. I mean, at least to me. Use whatever you want, okay? The sorry part of this is removing the canvases. If you've never actually removed the canvases from Dollar Tree and people are like, oh, use a staple remover. No, it's not always the best, most effective way. It still hurts me and I got to squeeze in there. One of the best ways for me is to take this little teeny tiny Cricut tool and smoosh it in underneath the nails and pry them up. But you know, even then sometimes the universe is working against you. Really? What miserable human being piled all these in this one spot for me to get out? I got burlap burn on my knuckle. Ouch. Oh, it hurts. But when you're all through with that misery, they look like this, you know, 2 pieces with a bunch of holes in them. We're still going to carry on and bring on in the miter shears. I have a lot of people ask me that have either purchased these or that own them, how do you get them open? And I like to share this every so often. There's a little screw here and you just pull it down and them suckers fly right open. And when you're done using them, you know, you just pop it right back up where it was. Now, if you don't have any dowels at home, I wanted to share with you how you can just cut these frames down and use the square pieces out of the frames. I usually have square wood dowels, but today I didn't actually have any that were my size, so we're going to wing it and use these for the little kickstands to hold up our MDF piece. First things first, we need to cut these down to actually be about the same size. And do y'all see what I have laying on this table? Okay, I don't think in 5 years, as of 2025, me making content on YouTube, I don't know I've ever busted out a ruler for anything. I mean, and truth be told, as you can see here, I'm not really using it. I'm kind of just eyeballing it still. Not everything's exactly matched. I just wanted to make sure that for the most part, they were the same size. And the reason this really matters is because we have to cut them on a 45-degree angle on both sides and then attach one on each side of our MDF frame here. I'm going to be using some tacky glue to get that long lasting hold and some hot glue to get an immediate hold. These little pieces are going to make sure that our main section is nice and stable. Now, I recommend letting this dry a couple hours before you go doing anything else. It's completely up to you if you want to just keep carrying on. I then picked a paint color. I'm just going to use black for this and put a nice coat all over everything. I picked these little hanging cork glass bottles up from Dollar Tree about a month or two ago. Thought they were really cool because you could remove the cork and the little bits that were inside, you could pull them out. I love things that allow you to be able to change them out and remix them with your decor, and thought that these little greenery pieces would give it more of a high-end look than the purple pieces that were in there. So I cut them down to size and grabbed one of my little wine bottle cork pieces that have the fairy lights on the top and started alternating between shoving some of those fairy lights in there and shoving some of the greenery pieces in there. The cork bottle fits on there pretty well, and it allows you to turn it on and off. If you want to glue things down, you can. I did not. I just kind of snipped the little rope piece off at the top, so this way I could tie one on each side, and this allows you to be able to change out whatever you want to hang on your piece as the seasons go on throughout the year, or you just want to change your home decor up. If you're looking for more Dollar Tree inspiration, watch this video right here. And if you're interested in checking out any of the TDS creative products you see me using in today's video, check out the DIYstruggle.com. And as always, people, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. Until next time.